Thank you for stepping by. I'm Alex. After having quite a break from YouTube, I was tempted to come back and do a VR to hashtag tarotcollector, which was created by Brant on Moonbaby channel. This tag contains 9 questions and it lets us talk about our decks again. But I will start by saying that I'm not sure I can call myself a collector. To me, collecting is something systematic and even history-oriented. I would say I'm a tarot enthusiast with a couple of shelves full of tarot decks. So the first question of this tag is your most expensive deck. After seeing just one deck of this creator and reading several of his articles, I knew I'm Robert M. Place fan forever and ever. So I decided that I will try to get as many of his decks as I can. And my most expensive tarot deck is Tarot of the Saints by Robert M. Place. Purchasing story goes like this. I found a reasonably priced Spanish version of this deck, but when you buy Robert M. Place deck, a guidebook is must-have. And I don't speak Spanish, so before buying Spanish version, I went online, and to my big surprise, I immediately found a companion book in English in one online charity shop. So now I have cards in English and 2 books for the sum of money I can somehow justify. Majors in this deck are represented by saints. Minors are Pippish style. Some of them contain references to biblical stories or just religious symbols. But to me, this doesn't feel like a religion-burdened deck. It's a wise, calm deck using those symbols as universal metaphors, not really a religion quote. My least expensive deck is Zombie Tarot. I got it from my local bookshop with 30% discount. I'm very happy that lately more and more bookshops in my city offer tarot decks, oracle decks for very reasonable prices. Some 3 years ago you wouldn't find any decks, and maybe just some esoteric books in those big bookshops. But Zombie Tarot is great value for money, even at its regular price, because it has like great packaging quality. Every design detail is like guidebook is very well thought out, and it has such smart and quirky sense of humor. Deck that other collectors would like to steal from your collection. I'm not sure about this one. At different times, people are intensively seeking for different decks, and prices for out-of-print decks remind me somehow of stock market, where you have to track down all the information available on YouTube, on Instagram, just to understand all those ups and downs of the prices going on eBay, Etsy, in different forums. I have a bunch of out-of-print decks, which are all very precious to me, but is any of them worth the crime? I don't know. So I'll make some assumptions. Maybe someone would be interested in out-of-print Robert M. Place decks I have, or Papa Studio decks. Some of them are also out of print right now, or maybe Lightseer's indie version. But there is one less seen out-of-print deck, which some time ago was going for crazy prices, and that's Victorian Fairy Tarot. This is just very, very beautiful and storytelling deck. Each card has its own little scene, a little story going on. Each suit is represented by a season of the year, and when you place those beautiful cards next to each other, it's like reading an old, beautiful and humorous and clever storybook. And before you consider any criminal activities, there are two good news for those looking for out-of-print decks. Buddha Tarot by Robert M. Place will be reprinted next spring by Schiffer. And late creator's brother promised that Tilvik Tarot is going to be reprinted someday. No concrete dates yet, but it's promised it will be available again sometime. Your strangest deck. This was the toughest question of them all, because when I started looking through my collection, I realized that, as my favorite singer LP puts it, they are all strange and it ain't never, never, ever gonna change. Just to give you some idea, I think an average strangeness index of my collection is somewhere around Nicoletta Ciccoli and the Lee Tarot. So I just chose some decks which are strange enough and are less seen on YouTube and haven't been mentioned in other parts of this video. Let's start with Tarot of the Magical Correspondences. This is quite a busy deck. Lots of glare. Okay. Busy deck, mainly based on Aleister Crowley's works. It has Hebrew, it has Greek letters, Tree of Life, Golden Dawn attributions on each card. There are also animals, plants, crystals, but for some reason I really like this colorfulness. Only thing I miss here is Golden Dawn names on minor arcana cards. Somehow there are a lot of, let's say, descriptions here, but not the Golden Dawn names. But I must confess, only thing I am able to do with this deck is one card draw, and then I'll just have to sit and look at all the pictures, look in the guidebook, search online for some correspondences. But still, this is a beautiful and rich deck. Next is Vertigo Tarot. I have... it doesn't fit into screen. I have a first edition, it's from year 1995, and as you see, even the packaging is unusual. It's big, huge box. There's a place for a guidebook, a place for the cards, and a guidebook is hardcover book with dust jacket. So it's just the production quality is awesome. And the guidebook is by Rachel Pollack. And if you look inside where the descriptions of the cards are, each description has a strange, unusual shape. Sometimes it corresponds with the text or with the meaning of the card, but definitely not always. Let's look at the cards. And this deck is based on Neil Gaiman, Sandman comic series. And the artist of the deck is Dave McKean. He actually won a World Fantasy Award for the covers he made for Sandman series. I love Gaiman's novels, but I got the deck before I read the comic books, so I would say you don't have to know the characters or storyline to use the cards, because it's quite close to Waite Smith's system, and Guidebook by Rachel Pollack is as good as you would expect it to be. And I put them aside. I think this deck has one of the most beautiful queens I've seen. So here they are: Queen of Swords, Queen of Cups, Queen of Pentacles, and Queen of Wands. And let us finish with Carnival at the End of the World. Artists of this beautiful and very strange deck is Nicholas Kahn and Richard Selznick. They're working together in photography, installation art, and main themes of their work are fictional stories. Their projects include documentation of an inhabited iceberg, as well as photo series of a society on Mars. This tarot universe is inspired by the Italian 16th century philosopher Guillaume Camus. His work Memory Theatre. It deals with disengagement and cultural overload. And quoting the authors, this deck is a traveller's gazette by Trupp Fledermaus Memory Theatre of 1932, with its full complement of Batfolk, Green Men, rope slingers, and death dancers in all their carnivalesque glory. This is our deck, yes, but I would say it can definitely be used as a tarot deck, but I don't think I could do readings with this deck without a guidebook. So for me, looking up meanings in the guidebook is quite essential to work with this deck. The deck other collectors are least likely to have in their collection. I'm guessing that would be a Tarot of the Golden Kernel. Artist is Anastasia Vinkova and produced by Modern Magic Press in Russia. It came out just this spring. The only colors present in this deck are white, black, and I hope you can see this not shiny but very rich and royal looking gold. Artist's statement says, "I make pictures out of gold because gold is the first medium of the translation of the sacred." And artist certainly uses this simple choice of colors and white space in an extraordinary powerful way. As you can see, majors have gold backgrounds and black drawings. If we look at minor arcana, which is very Pippish style, but not Marseille and not even 100% Rider-Waite Smith. Aces are gold color, only gold. I guess it emphasizes this spark of divinity that aces represent. Other minors are drawings of black and sometimes gold on mostly white background. So the artwork is very simplistic, but it's definitely full of meaning and energy in a very delicate way. But these cards are definitely ones which require quite time for contemplation and going through them one by one and finding your own meaning for those cards, because as I mentioned, it's a Rider-Waite Smith system, but not 100%, so you will have to find your own attitude to this deck. But it's so calm and so intricately beautiful. Your oldest deck, or the deck you have had the longest? There is just one deck in my collection which is older than me. And this is Il Tarocchino by Master Osvaldo Menegazzi. This is original first edition from 1978. Cards have sharp corners, and there is a blue background on them, and this blue color, I don't think you'll see, but this blue color has transferred a bit to the front of the next cards, so I'm guessing cards are uncoated, which gives them extra handmade feel. And I just love the idea of this deck, how, let's say, you don't need much to make the card recognizable, and idea can be told in just simple symbols, simple parts of the story or of the classical image. And this deck just always makes me smile. Court cards are in similar style as the major arcana, like here. But the number cards are just simple number and suit symbol. So you have like free hands, and you have your own will how to interpret them by the number, by the Mr. Waite system. So very democratic and beautiful deck. But my very first tarot deck was Radiant Rider-Waite in a tin. I think you all know this deck. It's just brighter colored, original or classic, let's say. I bought this deck on my way to my first tarot class. I didn't know anything, I would say, about tarot at that moment, and I thought I just need a simple practice deck. Something like when you are starting a new hobby, you just buy some basic supplies, planning to invest in something more when you know what will you be doing and what works for you. So this was just a practice deck for me. But of course, as it is my first ever tarot deck, I will never let it go. Your newest tarot deck. Actually, there will be 3. They all came in within a week, but before that, for 6 months in a row, I had no new tarot decks. So average level within a year is still okay. And all of them are so gorgeous, I just couldn't resist showing all of them. So Keymaster Tarot came first. This is just beauty, and totalization of this deck is just, oh my goodness. Stunningly beautiful deck. This is a Kickstarter deck, but as far as I know, this deck will be available also, out of Kickstarter. Made by artist Lorenzo Cacciotti. I will try to say it. He's from Sweden, and he's experienced playing card designer, and that definitely shows in this deck. And his team definitely knows how to make you feel that every penny was worth spending on this deck. I must admit, I couldn't resist ordering a set with extras, and the production quality for those extras are also out of reach. The minor arcana has some iconography from both Tarot de Marseille and White Smith decks, and I hope you can see there are some intricate geometry details on the cards also. The number cards merge French and Latin suits, So here it is the ace, and again I hope you can see that this so-called Latin or Marseille suit is impressed as a sigil on top of so-called French pips or playing card design. And court cards have one interesting feature. Let me show you. Apart from being beautiful and actually full of little suit signs, if we look at all the court cards, for example in spades or in swords, you can see that only the queen has open face. If we look at diamonds or pentacles, we see two open faces. In clubs or wands, we see three open faces. And in the cards or cups suit, we see that all the court cards are, all the faces are visible. Nothing is mentioned about this in the guidebook, but I find this idea very interesting because it gives an overall impression of the extraversion, is there such a word, openness or approachability of each of those suits. Number 2, fantastic Menagerie Tarot. I think I'm not the only one who is very grateful to Baba Studios for bringing back this to print. And I think it's sold out now, but there was a note from Baba Studio, the webpage, that they will have a second print run in December, not sure when, but there will be a second print run. This deck is so alive, humorous. It's based on the illustrations of 19th century French illustrator J.J. Granville, and those pictures are cynical, funny, bittersweet, and depicting, I would say, timeless situations and archetypes of the very, very human animal beings. As all the latest Baba Studio decks, it has very, I hope you can see, very detailed foil stamping on all of the cards, and that gives this deck a more subtle or, I don't know, artistic, pastel-y look than the first edition. And my first impression of this deck is that it will tell me stories, but I will have to read between the lines of those stories. Last but definitely not least is Oak, Ash and Thorn Tarot. It is created by Stephanie Burrows and illustrator Adam Ollers. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Creators say that in folklore, the sight of oak, ash and thorn trees entwined on a hillside mark the dwelling of spirits or the entrance to the other world. And here these three trees come together with a collection of woodland animals to create a stunning and unique tarot deck. And I can definitely agree on both of those terms. This is stunning and unique. There are two reference cards with some keywords for the meanings. There is, I think there is a PDF guidebook available from the creator. Deck is eco-friendly. Even the plastic film used for wrapping was marked as compostable. And to be honest, I wasn't planning to get this deck. It seemed nice, but I didn't really understand the hype it was receiving. But then I saw a card I just fell in love with, and that's Three of Wands. It's just gives me so much emotion. And when I saw it, I just had to have it. And now when I have the deck, I can understand the hype. It's not just the gorgeous and detailed artwork, it's the overall soft and kind energy that this deck has. It's sold out now, but creators say that a new print is coming out on February. And just as an additional note, my latest ordered but not yet received deck is also quite unusual tarot deck, Mystic Masters by well-known tarot tuber Denny Mystic. The deck that made you want to collect decks in the first place. I think for my ever-growing tarot collection, I can partially blame that wonderful lady who taught me tarot. Because in her classes, when we were talking about a particular tarot deck, she showed us different versions of this card from different decks, and we discussed them. So from the very beginning, I just knew that there are different decks, different artistic interpretations, and I would say I knew that there is no right deck, one and only right deck. Favorite deck from your collection? Yep, let's not even start here. I had to cheat. I decided that I will narrow down the list just to those decks which I mentioned in this video. And from that short list, I would say number one would be Vertigo Tarot. Because there is something so beautiful to me, so beautiful, so deep in this artwork. Sometimes I won't even read with it, just go through the cards, look at the pictures, and feel some positive energy and uplifting spirit from it. And number two, to my own surprise, Oak, Ash and Thorn. I have just started to work with this deck, but I feel that we will get on very well together. If you would like to see a walkthrough of any of those decks, or maybe you noticed any interesting deck on my shelves, just let me know. Also, any other views, comments are very welcomed. Thank you for watching and have a nice day!